So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris Price. I am the Academic Programs Manager at the SUNY Center for Professional Development. In partnership with SUNY OER Services, I'd like to welcome you to this Open Education Week Showcase webinar. On each of the 4 days this week, presenters will share what they're doing on their campus around the theme of openness. Join us to learn from each other and support your peers. So before I introduce our speakers today, I want to encourage you to leave your name and email address as part of our effort to recognize your engagement today in this community of practice opportunity. And I'm going to now copy and paste a Google Doc and put it in the chat. And so you'll see a spot to put your name and email address. If your email address does not indicate where you're from, just put that as well. Okay, so you should see the Google Doc, the bit.ly to the Google Doc there now. And Meghan, can you advance the next slide, please? So today, we're pleased to host Carol Beckley from Buffalo State College. Carol is an associate professor and designer in the theater department at Buff State. Her area of expertise is set design. She's a professional set designer, art director, photographer, and scenic artist. Carol will be sharing how she incorporates Creative Commons license notation on items in her Blackboard course. Carol's joined today by Leah Galka, Meghan Pereira, and Brooke Winkelman from Buffalo State College. Leah is the academic outreach and engagement librarian. Meghan's the director of instructional design and training, and Brooke is an instructional designer. So on behalf of the SUNY OER Services team, thanks for joining us today and sharing what you know, folks. And I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thanks, Chris. Thanks very much. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carol Beckley, and I have Meghan and Leah here with me. Brooke couldn't join us today, and my screen just went blank, so that will be interesting, but we can continue on regardless. If you guys wanted to introduce yourselves.
Go ahead, Leah.
Yeah, sure.
I'm Leah Galka, Outreach and Engagement Librarian. I do a lot of OER on our campus, coordinating OER initiatives.
All right, Meghan Pereira, Director of Instructional Design and Training. And I will be monitoring the chat for Carol. So if you do have any questions or you can't hear us, please just pop it in the chat and we'll be sure to answer that question or make any adjustments to the presentation that we need to. That works. Sounds good. All right, and I am going to turn the video off.
Thank you.
So, and then we're going to kind of hand it over to Carol.
So the reason that I asked Leah and Meghan and Brooke to join me here is that I've been going through training on our campus probably for the past 7 years in all different kinds of things, from Blackboard to Angel, learning management system, course redesign, course development, and now the OER, as that's become something that the campus has embraced. So I wanted to share with you guys my process of identifying the correct license for my work and how to go about notating it. The latest training I attended was a 2-day workshop specifically on OER, and my greatest takeaway from the training was the ability to really understand the different OER designations, which I had heard about, but I don't think I really embraced or knew what each one was or how to apply them to my own work. And so after that workshop, I really had a strong handle on that. This has been an ongoing process for me. It's taken a lot of time, and I find it gets easier the more I use it, but it's not something that happens quickly, and it's not something that will happen overnight. So if anybody is going to attempt it, I just wanted to give you that thought so that you don't feel lost, because I got very lost before I got to the place of knowing what to do. And I think that that could be common with other people with some of this kind of work. What I did was I started with materials I already had in a course, and I identified which ones I wanted to designate as open. So my own original work, what was I willing to share, and how was I willing to share that? I also had a lot of materials in my course that I had pulled from the internet, and I typically was pretty conscientious about looking for things that were openly available. but not as formally as I learned how to do through the workshop. So I was using them, but I wasn't really sure if they were open or not, and if they were open, to what extent that they were open. So I wanted to go back in and really formally understand that and be able to put the specific OER designation with it. So what I want to do now is turn this over to Leah for a little bit of a discussion about the different types of licenses and what they mean.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Leah again. Whether you are creating, or as Carol said, whether you're creating or adopting or adapting works, kind of being aware of what the different licenses are and the different Creative Commons license conditions is a big key to what makes open educational resources work. So open and open educational resources. So if you kind of, before getting into the Creative Commons licenses, if you think about standard copyright, traditionally, if you hold the copyright, you hold the rights to reproduce, to make derivative works, to distribute copies, to perform. And so these Creative Commons licenses add a little bit of flexibility into those rights. So these 4 conditions, can you speak a little louder? Oh, yes, sorry. These 4 different license conditions can be combined to create different licenses, and you're going to see those, the 6 major licenses on the next slide. But just to kind of break this down a little bit, attribution, so whether you're using something or attaching this to your own works, users can copy, distribute, display, perform, remix your work. So anything that copyright would typically restrict, you're allowing others to do that as long as they credit your name. And you can also use others' work if I'll try to talk so much louder, if you credit them. So the share-alike license, as it sounds, you can use others' work as long as you release whatever you create from this with the same license. And again, if you want others to make sure that they use the same license, you would apply a share-alike license to that work. No derivative, anybody can use the work. You can use the work, you can allow others to use it. They just can't make any changes. So it has to be, just as the work is created, but it can be shared, it can be distributed, it can be copied. All of those other things just not change. And then non-commercial, you can do any of these, make changes, distribute it. You just can't use it for commercial purposes. So those are the 4 main conditions. Again, kind of a response to the traditional restrictive copyright, a little bit more flexibility, and then you'll see in the next slide how these licenses can get combined, or how these license conditions can get combined into licenses.
Okay. So we do have a question about what is it meant by perform?
So that can be if it's a video and you're like a public performance of the video, any public display or public performance.
Give an example. For in the theater, if I wrote a play and I made that under this license, people could perform that play by just saying it was my name, but they wouldn't have to pay me rights and royalties, which would normally be typical otherwise.
So Lenore, does that answer your question? Okay, great.
Are there any other questions about this?
Yep, it just, I know some of us kind of seem to, just audio, so we just need to make sure that we're speaking loudly.
Okay, so we can go to the next slide. And so this is a chart of the icons that are associated with the different types of OER designations. I keep this chart on my desktop because it really helps me to understand and identify resources with specific attributes. I add the icons to my course materials. I've begun to. It's not all there, but I'm at the beginning of this process. I found this helpful on a number of levels. First of all, it forced me to identify how much of my original work I was willing to share and in what capacity. How do I want people using that if they're going to use it? Do I want them to keep it exactly as I wrote it, or are they able to edit it? Can someone sell it without my getting any compensation? I don't know. So with each piece, I identify that from that particular piece of material, and that helps me knowing in what capacity I want to share. The second thing it does is it allows me really to understand others' work and their sharing requirements. The pictures I find, or the icons I find much easier than the words, and so once I understand what share alike or no derivative or non-commercial meant, well, non-commercial is easy enough, but share alike and no derivatives, I didn't really know what they meant. And so once I did, then I can just use the symbols to let me know. And the third thing I noticed is that it really introduces students to the idea of OER and what it means and how to use it correctly. And I'm thinking in the future, if I can figure out, I'm going to give extra credits to students who share their work with one of these licenses, depending on what the work is. I haven't figured out how to, in what way I want to do that yet, but I could see this being something that would be good for them to understand and use and know.
So we do have a question for him, and I'm going to probably direct this one to Leah. Is there a license that states no strings attached?
So that would be, you might be familiar with public domain. So a public domain license, or CC0 is another name for it. So that's, anybody can use it for anything, and they don't need to attribute you don't need to attribute others. A lot of times that'll be, you know, literature that's fallen into the public domain after so many years, but you can apply that license to a work as well.
Does that make sense, Martha?
Did you hear?
Yeah, CC0, that's what I've noticed. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, yes. So the Creative Commons is where I choose the license and I acquire the link for the icons. So has anybody used this site before? And if so, for what? It would be nice for us to know that. I found it very easy to use.
So if anybody in the chat wants to just kind of give a, you know, yes, I've used it, no, are you familiar with it? They're all sleeping.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Familiar but have not used much. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Thank you. Then.
Yes, I've seen it before and not used it. They're all coming in. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, familiar but not used.
Yes. Okay, great. So, all right. The next slides are screenshots of how to add the licensing right into your course, because we weren't sure if we were going to be able to embed a film into this or not. We have identified a way to link out. So after I go through the screenshots, I'll be able to show you in real time just navigating the website itself. So you can add the icons right on the hard copy. You can add them into your materials online if you have a site for your course. At Buffalo State, we use Blackboard. And so the screenshots are going to show that LMS. My particular courses are organized by modules, and each module correlates to a weekend class or a topic or both. And so to begin the process of this, I just selected one module. I didn't try to make the whole course OER right at once. I didn't even look to doing half the semester. I just thought, let's do one module. And I realized when, and I worked with Meghan on this in the workshop. And so the first step was to identify what I had in the module and to see what I could designate as OER, and if we could designate the entire module with one OER designation, because that would have been faster than doing each item individually. It turns out that I could not do that. I had 3 different types of information in one module, and so we had to approach each one separately to identify which Creative Commons license would be appropriate. So the three types of things I had in there were, I had original research that was my own, original materials. And then I had online material I knew was OER, but I didn't know the exact type. And then I also had research that I had done through a Google search where I could identify it was not under copyright, but I didn't know any more than that. So it was going in and checking that as well. And so on the left, the slide, the little section, I can't show it, I can't put it, on the left, the denouement, that is just something original that I wrote that was very simple to go into the Creative Commons chooser and apply that license. I chose the share alike. I probably might add a non-commercial, although I didn't really think it would have a lot of commercial whatever the word is for that, saleability, so I didn't get too specific there. For the Wikipedia on the right, I felt Wikipedia was open, but I didn't really know. But we were able to go in and find that Wikipedia, yes, is in fact open, and what kind of a license it has, which is the Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike. It happens to be the same one that I put my original content under, but those could have been different. Now, this is a storyboard that I had pulled from a Google search that I really liked, and I had found at the time that it stated that I could use it if I said create your own at storyboard.com. So I put that underneath there, but I wasn't 100% sure what I had or what I didn't have. And so this is where Meghan really came into play and showed me how to navigate around a website that I take something from to be able to see what exactly the license is allowing. So she can talk a little bit to that.
Yeah, so for those of you that when you're searching for content online, you know, we can always go to the website, and usually down at the bottom, it'll say, you know, their privacy statement, you know, how you can use these resources. And so as Carol mentioned, you know, you can take the content and, you know, it's a process. It's not going to be something that's really easy to do. So we spent time during that workshop really looking at the usage agreements, the license agreements, and really kind of reading through those to see how you can actually use it. And for this specific tool that Carol uses, it never, you know, actually specified the Creative Commons license. But as we were reading through, you know, it said you can use this with attribution, cannot be used by commercial. And so as we were going through and reading it, we were able to go ahead and look, and as we look at the chooser that Carol will show you in a little bit, we were able to work ourselves through that actual license agreement to then go ahead and say, yes, based on this user agreement, we can go ahead and consider this a part of the OER course that she is actually working through and creating. So it does take some time to read through those license agreements and things like that, but they're there, and it's just a matter of kind of taking some time. Carol also mentioned that doing Google searches, and so we can certainly bring up Google, but after you go ahead and use search, you can actually, within the advanced settings, inside of your Google search, to actually go ahead and say, you know, only show me items that have a Creative Commons license. And I'll throw a plug in, because those of you who know me know that I have to bring this up. But if you're also searching Google for videos, inside of that search, you can also say, show me videos that have captions. So again, that advanced search inside of Google, if you're searching for content, if you go into that advanced and more options, you can mark, show me things that have a Creative Commons license or that have captions if you're looking for videos. So again, the tools around us are allowing us to make these searches a little bit easier. So this is where you want to show it,
Yeah,
right?
I'm gonna just take you, I had made a video that it's gonna be easier if I just show you. I can take you right to the site here. So this is where we're in creativecommons.org. /choose, and it's your chooser. So you've identified a piece of material. I had done it through Blackboard. And then I come to this site, and it's very simple. It'll say the license feature. It's going to ask me questions. Allow adaptation of your work to be shared. So you can say yes, no, or yes as long as others share alike, which just means that then they're going to also use an open license, that they're not going to edit it and then go and charge the kids for a textbook. So that's where that share alike comes in. Allow commercial uses. I would probably select no, because I don't want someone selling my work necessarily if I'm sharing it. And I don't know if you noticed, but see, when I have yes here, there's no little $ in the iconography. But if I click, as soon as I click no, then the $ shows up. So depending on what I'm clicking here, the license automatically changes for me. I don't need to know which ones it is. I just need to be able to answer the questions. And I found that pretty helpful for me. And then once you have this, you can scroll down and it gives you the link right here. So you just cut and you copy this and then you paste it right next to your work on your website, or I guess you could photocopy it and put it right on your materials if you're doing print materials, because now you also have the image right here. So can we go into my Blackboard?
Yeah, so just kind of click.
So here, now we're in Blackboard. And if I were, just for example, I'll do this pretty quickly for you, but let's say we have test 4.
Oh, type it here.
Yep. And then I can just go to the HTML box here, paste that in, click update, and then it shows up right in there. And then if I go to submit this, it may not let me, let's see, it should be at the bottom here. So now here is the item with the icon right in there. And I don't know about you guys, but I was super excited when I could do this. And so that is, that's how
it.
you do it. Yeah. Are there any questions?
Yeah.
Is it something you'd like to try? Is it something you've already done? We'd love to hear any feedback that you guys have, or any work you might have done, or any ways that you do it that we didn't mention.
One of the things too, for those of you that are in Blackboard, so Carol did an item, but there were a couple places, and I can't remember actually which one it was, that one of, I want to say that it was the storyboard that we uploaded an image, and if I click on edit, it didn't actually have the HTML option, so we actually just pasted it in and it worked. So it just a little kind of glitch inside of Blackboard when you don't have that full HTML editor. You could still copy and paste the code, and Blackboard knew how to actually read that code to display what she wanted to. But I remember at first going, oh my gosh, where's the HTML editor? I can't find it. But it actually works both ways. So even if you can't find, you can still paste that in there. Great way to, just so some comments, great way to create awareness among the students for the content, easy, yep.
Sure.
This is Lenore. I have a question.
Sure.
What if you are using some copyrighted work and you want to reference it in your OER?
If it's something, under copyright, your best bet, if it's something online, would be to link to it within your open content, or if it's like a print journal or a book, to put in a citation or kind of refer to it. But as far as including copyrighted content into OER, I would definitely advise against kind of wholly including it, but linking out, referencing should be fine.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to go back to Carol's course, one of the reasons that when we were working on it, we were trying to create, a module and just put the one license on the module. But because of that, if she had content, that's why we had to do it individually and possibly still link out to those components that we weren't able to find that Creative Commons feel to it. And so that's why it was just kind of a link out, similar to what Leah just kind of said.
Once the whole course, though, my goal, once I can get the whole course identified with different licenses, then I feel like I could just put the whole course as OER, and those specific designations then are already in there. Oh yeah, let's see what other slides we have. This was just the photos in case we couldn't link out, but we were able to link out. This just gives you the little picture of what to do in Blackboard, and then over how to cut and paste, and then what happens after you cut and paste. And I think the next slide is just that nothing, you don't need that. We don't need anything there. And the last slide here is just a few resources. There are lots of them. You guys might want to add any to those.
Nope. They are there, and I know that Chris and Aaron have the link to this presentation in Google. So I saw that somebody did ask, will the recording. So I think the recording will be available on the OER website that advertised all of the sessions, and these slides will be there also. So the slides and the recording. And
then if you want to, then the previous slide, you might, if you forget how to, when you go to the Creative Commons, if you forget how to, there's a YouTube video that you should be able to just cut and paste that into YouTube, and then you can pull up the video of that, but there's no audio with it.
So any questions? Or Chris, we'll hand it back over to you because you have slides after.
Yep. So thank you both, all of you, for three of you, for your presentation today. I thought it was really good. If you look there where I just put in the chat, the recording will be at that link there that you see on the slide there. But if you want the link directly, like I said, I put that in the chat. And if you haven't had a chance to sign in, please do so on the Google Doc so that we can send you communications. And so that's the second link in that post. Just go to the next slide, Megan. So the next Open Education Week webinar will feature Jillian Pacu from SUNY Geneseo sharing about how she tailored and edited a SUNY OER composition course to suit the needs of students in Geneseo's first-year writing seminar. The online writing course functions as a largely self-paced co-requisite to that seminar. The session will be tomorrow, March 9th at noon, and you can join tomorrow's session using the same link you used today. But if you want more information, I'm going to put another link in the chat on the promo page. I'll do that right now. So you can check that out there. And that'll do it. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. And I always like to do a little webinar applause, and everybody else can open their mic and applaud as well. And hope to see another open educational event, education event this week.